Hello guys, welcome back to Manalasak. In this video, this is the third video on our series, the revision series that we are making for the November paper 2, right, grade 10. So now this is a trigonometric graph question. I took this from a Gauteng provincial paper that was written in 2021, right? So let's get to it. It says here, the diagram below represents the graph of f, which is a sine x, and the graph of g, which is b cos x, right? For this domain here. Now I want to highlight some things here. There are some things your mind should just jump as soon as you see them, right? Something should just spark in your brain once you see some things. So when they're telling you that f of x is equals to a sine x, right? There are some things, there is something that should, I don't know how to say it, but there is this bulb that's supposed to switch on in your mind, right? So this graph usually it is this way. This graph usually it is this way. What they gave us is this one. What does that mean? It means our b is equals to 1, and it means our q is equals to 0. It means we don't have any vertical shift, number one, and it means this b here, remember what this b stands for. If you don't, please go study again. Please go watch videos. I have videos that are educational videos. This is a revision video, not a lesson video. Now, here in this situation, it means in a 360 degree in a 360 degree interval, you are going to get one full wave. And what type of a graph is this? It's a sine graph, and you know a sine graph has an S shape, right? The sine graph S shape, whether it's this way or it's this way, right? So we see this one here, and it's even marked for you that this is the graph of f, the one that forms an S wave, right? So we see that it starts here at 0 degrees and the wave ends here at 360 degrees. You see that? So which makes sense that in a 360 degree cycle, our b value is 1 because we get only one wave in a 360 degree cycle as it appears on this diagram. Now, what else do we see? What else we are seeing is that we have the cosine equation, and the same goes for the cosine equation. For cosine, we're given that g of x is equals to b cos x, right? What do we know? We know that this is the same as, let me use an eraser. Let me not mess up things. What we know is that the general equation says a cosine b x plus q, right? And then what does that mean now? It means if I don't have a q here, it means my q is 0 because this equation that they gave me doesn't have a q. And then in front of x, as you can see here, there is nothing, which means the coefficient of x is 1, which means our b in this situation is 1, right? And then our a value is unknown. They just said a is b, right, in the situation. So which means our a here is the unknown variable, right? That's what we are looking for. Now, in all these situations, what do the missing items, what do they mean? Well, in those situations, what we know is that the a value here represents the amplitude and the b value here represents the amplitude. That was me. Those are the lights that I expect to switch on once you see this diagram and the statement alone before even reaching the question, right? Okay, the first question says write down the values of a and b. Let's start with a. We said a is the amplitude. You see a, it's on the sine graph, this S-shaped graph. So what we know is that a is the amplitude of the graph. What is the formula for amplitude? In case you forgot it, it's half maximum value minus minimum value. In this situation, you will never go wrong. In this equation, I'm telling you, you will never go wrong. Your a is equals to half. What is your maximum value? Your maximum value is here. What is y there? Y there is 2. So I'm going to say 2 minus the lowest value. The lowest value is where it's here. What is the lowest value? That is negative 2. That is negative 2. Right. So let me save this so it doesn't crash. Let's wait for it. A few seconds. There we go. Wait. Yeah. So now this means a is equals to half of 2 plus 2. And a is equals to half of 4, which is 2, right? Our A is 2, in case you didn't hear me say that. Our A is 2, right? And then how else could you have found this? Well, you could have just said, you see this point here, this is where the winds are changing direction. This graph was having a U shape, right? And then at this point it changes. Now it's going to have an N shape from here up until there. So this, we call this the point of inflection. So the distance from the point of inflection to the highest point, that is your A value. That is your A value, in case you want the shorter way to cram it. If that's too difficult for you, cram this part here, the calculations, right? So our A is equals to 2, because the distance from the point of inflection to the highest point of the graph is 2 units. Point of inflection is at 0, highest point is at 2, so the distance is 2 units. Hope that makes sense. Now let me clear all this mess. Now I've cleared the mess. So here's what we have. We said our A is the distance from here to the highest point, so our A is equals to 2. And then we need to find our B. B, again, it's also the point of inflection. You can do the same thing. B is equals to half of the maximum value minus the minimum value. But this is happening where? Sorry. This is happening in the cosine graph. A cosine graph has a C shape. Whether the C is facing that way, the C will more or less be stylish like this, or the C is facing downwards like this, right? So as long as it's a U or an N, as long as it's a C in a way, that's a cosine graph, right? So now, in this situation, it's even highlighted for us here. Our cosine graph, it is this one here, the graph of G right there. Now, looking at this cosine graph, you have to somehow just fill in the value there. This is the maximum value. Maximum value is 1. You're going to say minus. And then here your lowest value is what? Your lowest value is minus 1. So B is equals to half of 2, which means now your B is equals to 1. Sorry, your B is equals to 1. In case you didn't hear me, B is equals to 1. So I'm going to say here B is equals to 1. I hope that's not a problem, right? And then afterwards, we can move on from that. I want to say now, for which value or values of x, I'm on question 6.2 now, for which value or values of x will G be a decreasing function? Now, when we say G is decreasing, it means now this graph, it's going down, right? So, where's the graph of G? Here's the graph of G. The graph of G in this situation, starting from here, it's going down, 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 up until here, right? Here the direction is changing. Now it's going upwards, 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 right? So where is the graph going down? The graph is going down from here up until here. Now, what are the x values in that situation? The x value starts from here. You see how I'm getting this? This is where the graph is decreasing, and I'm expecting it to be that easy for you. So the graph is going down between the following values. It's going down from when x is 0 degrees, from here, when x is 0 degrees. So I'll put 0 degrees here, up until when x is how much? Up until when x is 180 degrees. Now, is it inclusive or exclusive? Like, do I put a line underneath like this, or do I leave it like this? Now, you leave it like this. Why? Because at this point, the graph is not increasing or decreasing. It's just changing direction. Same thing applies here. The graph at this point here, it's not increasing or decreasing. It's changing direction from where it's coming from here, right? So this is the answer for this one here. You're going to say x, when it's between 0 degrees and 180 degrees, your graph of G is decreasing. 2 marks for that. See how easy is that? Now, next question. Next question says, wait, this is the same thing, isn't it? It's the same thing. Okay, next question. Properly, next question. It says, what is the amplitude of f? Now, we already spoke about this. We said the amplitude. The amplitude, it is this value here in front of the equation. This value here in front of the equation. I feel like they're asking the same thing over and over. So the amplitude here of f, the graph of f in this situation, that was the a value. We said the a value is how much? We said the a value is positive 2. So the amplitude, I want you to understand, the amplitude is always positive. So in that situation, if our a was not positive, we're going to still say here that our amplitude is positive 2. Right. Now 6.4. 6.4, it's asking for the range of g. Right. So when we talk about the range of g, we're talking about all the y values that this graph can cover. Now let me draw a line here. You see the graph of g. The graph of g reaches the highest point here, and the graph of g reaches the lowest point here. Right. So it plays around this area from this -1, it plays between -1 and +1. It goes up and down in that area there. Right. Do you see the graph of g that I'm talking about? I hope you are. See the graph of g? It goes down from +1. When it gets to -1, it turns around, it goes up again. When it gets here, it will turn down again, like that. It will just play around that range. You see the word play here. So that's what we mean when we talk about range. So which means now in this situation, your range, you're going to tell me that y is an element of, in which this is you telling me now that y is found between the following values. You start with the lowest value, which is -1. And you end with the highest value, which is +1. And then afterwards, you have to think, or you have to just realize, does y actually touch the -1? Yes, it does, which means here I'm going to have a square bracket. There at -1, I put a square bracket. And then you go to this point here. Does y touch +1? Does the graph ever touch +1? Yes, it does. So which means there at +1, I'll put a square bracket there. Easy as that. Another 2 marks going in like that. Hope it makes sense. The next part, 6.5, in which this is the last question, by the way. It's asking you now, oh, this is interesting. This is interesting. I'm going to use different colors here. Let's read the question. It says, for which value or values of x, which means your answer must be in terms of x, right? For which value or values of x is the graph of f minus the graph of g equals to 2? Now I want you to realize something. This is the graph of g here. See the graph of g? I want to highlight that. If when you walk into the exam, you also have your own highlighter there, please make sure you use it properly. Right? Next part, I want to highlight this part, this other graph here. So here's the other graph. It's not moving straight, but you see the vision. Right. Okay. I want to know, where is the graph of y minus the graph of g ever going to give me 2? Basically, I'm asking you, where is the distance ever 2 here? In a way, it has to perfectly be 2. Now look at this point. You see this point here? What is the y value for the graph of f? Remember, this is the graph of f. So the y value for f is 2. And at this point, what is the y value for g? The y value for g is 0. So if this is f and this is g, then I can say f minus g is the same as 2 minus 0. What is 2 minus 0? 2 minus 0 is 2. Now that's the answer there. So when x is 270 degrees, when your x is equals to 270 degrees, exactly there, your graph of f minus the graph of g will give you an answer of 2. You see that? Now let's look at another one. Another situation, we have this one here. And I want you to understand, this is incorrect, by the way, the one that I'm about to do now. Here, the graph of g, its y value is 0. Here, the graph of f, its y value is -2. See that? Sorry. However, this situation, I have g above, I have f below, in which it won't work. So when I'm saying f, here's the graph of f. If I'm saying f minus g. I'm going to say f. What is f? F in this situation is negative 2 minus g in this situation is 0. The answer here gives me negative 2 minus 0. It's what? It's negative 2. So it doesn't give me what I want, like in this situation here. So which means here, the only true answer in this situation, when x is equals to 270, then the graph of f minus the graph of g is going to give me how much? Positive 2. That's my answer. This is my only answer. I hope you are all well there. So this is the last part of it. Thank you for tuning into the channel. Please make sure that you don't forget to subscribe and like the video and share it to anyone who you think it might help. We need more subs, guys, on the channel, by the way, right? Nevertheless, thank you for watching this video up until here. See you on the next one. Goodbye.